There are 2 new CDs out now on White Centipede Noise: Incapacitance and Savage Gospel, and Size Effects, Richter, now available to order at whitecentipedenoise.com. Hello and welcome to White Centipede Noise Podcast. I'm Oscar Brummel, and today my guest is Kenny Sanderson of the legendary cut-up harsh noise project FACIALMESS and the newer industrial noise project Like Weeds. Visit patreon.com/White Centipede Noise to access the bonus content from this episode and then support this show. Hey, Kenny.
All right, Oscar.
Welcome to White Centipede Noise Podcast.
Sorry.
Good to see you.
All right, good to see you as well. Yeah. Cheers. It's night time here, so I'm
Yeah. It's morning here, kind of. We're dealing with a lot of a wide spread of time zones and lifestyles.
That's true. Lifestyles. Indeed.
So you for those who don't know, you live in Japan.
Yeah.
You live in Tokyo, right?
Yeah, Shinjuku. Yeah, Tokyo. Yeah.
Okay. I guess before we get into all your work and stuff like that, can you just kind of what brought you to Japan in the first place?
It was a girl and not wanting to get a job, like a proper job. I mean, at university, I met a girl who's now my wife, Yukia, and I finished university, and then I thought, well, I'd come over here for a year and put, the inevitable kind of joining the rat race off for a few years. Unfortunately, I joined the rat race over here, but
so you guys met at the university in the UK, right?
We met actually at a nightclub in London, and it was some club, and still here. 25 years later. Yeah.
When did you move over there?
Would have been October 95.
Okay.
So quite a long time ago.
And then when did FACIALMESS start?
FACIALMESS started either 96 or 97. I can't quite remember. But
okay.
That was actually the second name of the noise, the kind of the noise project, but yeah.
What was the first one?
For one tape, which I think only one person or two people have, it was called Nicodori.
Okay.
And there's only one tape. It's called Dollinger Vass, which I still have, recorded on a karaoke machine. It was great. It's actually really good.
Cool.
It's better than some of my later stuff. Actually, it's really good.
This episode of White Centipede Noise Podcast is brought to you by Absurd Exposition Label and Scream and Writhe Distro. There are 4 new CDs now available on Absurd Exposition: Dodge Jones Rage, West Coast Power Outage 5. The power trio of Chris Dodge, Mason Jones, and William Rage return to AE with another dose of psychedelic circuit overload. Neural H2T, an unreleased session from 2001, recorded by Howard Bylerman at the infamous Hotel to Tango Studios in Montreal. Fold, to favor the occurrence, Neural's harsh noise is formulated by the give and take of restraint and control. With his alter ego as Fold, Alan Bloor uses the same techniques to create ambient soundscapes rich with the tactility of their found metal sources. Rusalka, Bass Waters, reissue of the 2019 LP. Using a theremin as a centerpiece, Kate Rissek leads us into a harsh noise odyssey of oceanic depths. Visit screamandwrithe.com for all 4 CDs and a distro of over 2,200 items, servicing the international noise community at large. So, were you already tapped in? Well, were you already doing noise before you moved over there, and were you also already tapped into the Japanese scene? Because obviously the Japanese scene is, especially in that time when you moved over, is legendary and massive. Were you already? Was that part of your reason for going over in any way?
Not so much. I mean, to be honest, it was all happening around the same time. I mean, during the first half of the 90s, I was really into like noise rock, grindcore, like Big Black, Godflesh, whatnot. And about that time, I got into a band called Floor, who released a couple of things on Bovine Records. It was a great label. And I bought, it's about exactly around at the same time as I moved to Japan, because I ordered it in England, and then but I had to forward the address to Japan, and I got the Grief Suppression 7-inch. And that was huge for me because it had Suppression on the other side. And as soon as I moved over here, I wrote to Jason Hodges, and then I got into I got one of his comp tapes that had like Black Leather Jesus and a Rotten Piece and stuff like that on it. And it was that was a bit of an eye opener. So then, weirdly, I always forget this, like the order it goes in. But I think I was already here, and I had a copy of it was called Book Your Own Fucking Life. It was a Maximum Rock and Roll publication, and it just had lists of addresses of like punk, noise, whatever, like underground stuff. And I looked at all the Japan addresses, and I wrote to this guy called Seki, who did a band called DIE and a label. And and I just wrote, I've just moved to Japan and got your address. And I wrote to him, and he wrote back, and he sent me a tape, which there's a comp tape, which actually had we'll probably get to this a bit later, but it had a Nicodori track on it and a DIE track on it. And but he also sent me a flyer for a show that he was putting on that weekend, and the headliners were the Incapacitants, and that was the first real experience of proper Japanese, like real Japanese noise I ever had. And so that was late 95, and then it was like, wow.
Killer.
Yeah.
So you didn't really know about that kind of stuff beforehand, or you hadn't really heard it?
I was always like tempted to buy like Venereology, Merzbach, because that had just come out on like Relapse, and I had, or Release, sorry. But and it was there were so many copies in secondhand shops basically. So I'm figuring that in London this was. So I'm figuring people had bought this and going, nah, not for me, maybe. And so every in London, every secondhand like CD shop I used to go into had like copies of this Merzbach CD, and I thought maybe I should buy that, but I didn't buy it, and so not really. I mean, cool. I'd seen the Boredoms before I went there, but again, I guess that's, and Zenigeva actually as well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so so it was like you were working in that, you were orbiting in that kind of
but basically, but definitely more in the kind of noise rock kind of thing. Yeah,
cool. But, how was it like to? Well, what is it like to break the ice there, as a foreigner, in terms of getting into that scene? Was that difficult, or was that easy?
It's still difficult. I don't know. I mean, it's hard to. I mean, going back to that show, that first show, and I went there with my girlfriend at the time, and we went there, and there was, I can't remember, maybe it was like on the door or something. There was a flyer, and it was a Nicodori flyer, and it basically said, "We need a guitarist." And I thought, well, I can't play guitar, but I've got a guitar, and I got one pedal as well, so that might work. So, and because I'd seen her, I thought they were absolutely fantastic. I mean, I don't know if in Nicodori at the time were like, it was basically a drummer and a vocalist, who they are actually, they've come back and do it again now, and it was the most explosive thing I'd ever seen in my life. It was 30 seconds of just drum grind noise, and it was just fantastic. I've never seen anything like it in my life. And then I was just, wow. And then Okada the singer was looking for somebody to join, so I kind of gingerly went up to him, and then I realised I couldn't say anything, and because he didn't speak English, and I couldn't speak Japanese at all at that time. And so through my girlfriend, we basically, like you said, can I try out for the band. A bit of fun. So I went down, into a place called Cashua, and we had a bit of practice. He goes, all right. Do you want? We got a gig next week if you want to join. And through that, I kind of, I guess, started meeting people and that. But it was a bit, I guess, it was a real novelty at the time. I mean, like this grind noise band who played for 30 seconds with this like foreigner on guitar, which was a bit, because there was no one else, and not in Tokyo. I mean, I think, this was before Kelly Churko came, just before Jason came, and I know that there were a few lads out in Osaka. Oh no, sorry, Bob Zone was over here.
Oh yeah, okay, yeah.
And but it was a slightly different circus. He was like moving in the strictly kind of more noise sort of thing, and I was not quite in there yet. I was more in the kind of the hardcore grindcore thing. And but there weren't many of us, and so.
So how long did you play with Nikudorei? And you said you started with guitar. Did you stay with guitar, or did you switch over to electronics at some point?
Yeah, I was in it for about 3 or 4 years. I don't know, 3 or 4 years anyway. The last show was actually with Bastard Noise, and fantastic show. I always remember the Bastard Noise. It was a Bastard Noise and Merzbow collaboration set, and I can't remember who was on. Maybe Painter was on the bill as well. It was at the old 20,000 volts. But I was there for maybe 4 years, and I started on guitar. But then because FACIALMESS or whatever it was before then, like started as kind of a little side project to Nicodori, basically because Nicodori sets were so short. When we played live for like really 30 seconds a minute. Yeah. And I kind of wanted to play a bit longer sometimes. So I thought, maybe I'll do a bit of noise and that. Yeah. So, and then, so I started at home, like recording a bit. And then I brought that electronic stuff to Nikudorei. And I guess for the last 2 years I was in it, I was more like electronics.
Cool.
Maybe. I don't know.
Did they let you do like a noise extension of the set, or would it be like Nikudorei played and then stop and then you would play like a separate thing? Yeah,
but I wish I hadn't. I really wish I hadn't. I've got this. I wish I hadn't done that after the set finished. I started doing that a little bit, and actually John Weiss has got a video, and I've got to ask him about it, but because I've got a copy of it, and and of Nikudorei playing, and and it's great until me fucking on the guitar for about like 2 minutes at the end, and it's like I just wish I was like looking at I shouldn't have done that. It's like it was perfect as it was, but I guess at that time I was like thinking, I want to do a little bit more. I want to show my artistic stuff. Yeah. But So, but I wish I hadn't actually, because it was, and also at that time I was starting to get a few gigs as like, I guess, FACIALMESS, so there wasn't really any need for it, So I regret that.
I mean, like a 30-second set or a 60-second set is a pretty specific statement, like it's like, there's a reason we're playing for 30 seconds, and then
that's right.
That's
right, and so it's like kind of, sorry, yeah, but
if they're in conflict with them being like, like I'm gonna carry this on out or something like that. But I mean, it's cool. No,
I really wish. I think that was a mistake though. Looking back, it should have been that short, 30 seconds or 1 minute or not. However, done. All right, gone. Not some foreigner standing on the stage that's like, fiddling about with a fucking pedal or something. No.
Yeah.
I regret that. But whatever.
Whatever. Yeah.
But he's back. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No. Go on. Yeah, Nicodore's back. Yeah.
Okuda's back. He's doing. He disappeared for a while for various reasons, and he's back doing his thing. Him and a drummer. So it's like back to the original kind of like idea of Nikudorei, and it's fantastic. He's back, and I was so happy when I saw his first gig that he did for a very, very long time, and it was great. It was really, really good, and Yeah.
Sick. Would you ever consider rejoining again or collaborating again?
Well, that would be up to Okuda because it's his project. But
Yeah.
I mean, if he asked, I'd think about it. But I would never want to. It is what it is, and it's his thing, and it's like,
Sure.
and I think it's perfect as it is. So he doesn't really need me.
Sure.
Yeah.
So you meant, and that was kind of like you're in, but you mentioned it's like still kind of hard to break the ice within that scene or something like that. And I'm curious about like, what's it like to live in Japan? I mean, I think anywhere living in the world as a foreigner, you do experience some sort of natural kind of isolation or separation from the greater society, from the normal side. I don't know. That's just what I kind of experienced, and that's why I would assume maybe in Japan being also pretty more extreme. How is that for you? I mean, how is that for you living in Japan? Are there enough people in the kind of like the subculture, counterculture world or friends and family that you have that, or do you feel connected with like Japanese society as a whole?
I mean, it's weird because it's just a norm for me now. I mean, it's hard to compare it to anything else because actually I've been over here. I've lived in Japan longer than I had lived in England, which when I think about that, I always feel a bit weird about that. But I don't know. I mean, it's because I mean, it's whatever you do. I mean, it's like it's your life and it's your experience. But I mean, I guess judging it from a more outsider's point of view, well, I guess I am a bit isolated from various things, but I don't feel it internally, really. I mean, I go out. I got like
I mean, I think that can be liberating too. I mean, it can be
very much so, very much so. I mean, I used to feel it a lot more when I first moved over here because I would obviously be able to compare it a lot more. I mean, I always look back at the watching the film Trainspotting. I mean, Trainspotting.
Yeah.
I was over here when that film came out, and if I'd been in England, I would have hated it as a reaction against kind of like, oh, it's cool, it's popular. But I was completely oblivious to any of the hype, any of the thing. And I went to a cinema to watch it. And I loved it. I thought it was great. And then I remember calling a friend going, I just saw Trainspotting. Have you seen it? You heard of this film? And like, they're going like, what? And like, oh, it's awful, mate. What are you doing? You're watching that crap. And but it's like, what? And I was like, well, have you seen it? Nah, I don't want to. It's like, but just like, I don't know, kind of setting yourself free from all of that shit like back home and like be able to like kind of just positive isolation in a way, like real make your own mind up about stuff. And
that's true. I mean, I didn't think of that side of it too. There's the isolation from your kind of home that is also quite interesting because you can have a much more kind of pure, I guess, or untainted.
I think
kind of like relationship to the culture or the hometown or something like that. Whereas if you're there, you're like, fuck, this all sucks. Everyone's stupid. That's stupid. That's stupid. That's stupid. But if you're like far away, you're like, God, man, I love that TV show, man. I can't remember, like, just stuff like that.
I think I understand England a lot more now than I did when I lived there.
Absolutely.
I mean, yeah. I mean, I guess that's a bit of a cliche to say that sort of stuff, like when you only know where you're from and when you leave, but
absolutely.
But it is true. Yeah.
Definitely being away from the U.S. and Germany.
Yeah,
it took me a minute. It took me a minute to be like, first I was like, oh, everything's pretty much the same. Everyone lives pretty much the same or everywhere in the world. But after a few years, you're like, okay, I can really like break down what's going on here. And there, like it's interesting, but but
also, I mean, like, the US.
Go on.
I mean, you're from the US and that is that's the maddest country though. That I mean, like from my very very limited experience. I mean, like
for sure.
I mean, England and Germany probably not that different, and in Japan, it's Japan, but I mean, like the US. Oh God, man, it's
wild. It's fucked up.
Yeah.
But also like the the disconnection, or I don't know, disconnection, but kind of separation from living from the country you live in. If you're like a foreigner, I guess they call people expats if they're
Yeah.
usually from the West or something like that, as opposed to immigrants if they're from somewhere else. But
That's very true. That's it's an interesting word, isn't it? Expat.
Yeah. I don't even. I actually just Googled it before like we talked, because I was like, I hear people use expat sometimes. Like, what the fuck does expat really mean? But yeah, it doesn't really make sense. But anyway, but like, there's like I know a guy here, for example, who's like also an American guy from San Francisco, hardcore scene. He speaks zero English. He works in a screen printing shop. He owns a screen printing shop. Cool. I'm sorry, he speaks zero German.
All right.
Has a wife who's German, who speaks both languages. She handles all like the bureaucratic stuff, and he has like his group of friends that play in punk bands and stuff like that. But he's like totally isolated from Germany as a whole, except he has to still go to the supermarket and like whatever. But I mean, I think it can be a frustrating thing at some point. At some point, it can be kind of lonely, but it can also be like kind of cool. Yeah, it's like your life. You make your own life, and it's like, oh, I have my weird little circle of
yeah. I mean,
friends, and that's awesome.
Yeah, right? Yeah. I mean, definitely. I mean, like, and no, and I do have like a really decent and like a really circle of friends like that, and good noise people and stuff. I mean,
yeah.
There's there's always something going on. There's always a drink to be had somewhere and a band to be seen somewhere. So it's good.
That's super cool. Yeah, you set up a lot of shows. Have you been setting up a lot of shows all through your time there? You've been pretty active in like booking and stuff like that in Tokyo?
I think I set my it was the late 90s. I think I set my first show up, and actually I really don't remember who was on it. I got a feeling it was KK Null, and I think it was KK Null doing a collab with Government Alpha.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe MSBR. Mm-hmm. Probably MSBR. I don't know, but it was small. But yeah, I mean, I think it's in some ways it's a thankless task. But I mean, if I want to see shows, then someone's got to set them up. So might as well be me.
Are you setting up shows oftentimes for like just Japanese folks, or
yeah?
Okay, cool.
I mean, I have a semi. I mean, it's kind of bi-monthly now. I mean, little event that I put on at this place Ochi Soup, and because it's just people I want to see. So I mean, and also I was especially motivated to restart this after COVID, because obviously spaces need like events to happen, need people to come, need money. And that space is so important to Tokyo. Yeah, I mean, it cannot be overestimated. It can't be like over whatever that word is. Yeah, overstated. That's right. How important that space is to not just noise, but like underground electronic music in Tokyo.
Yeah. And I did notice at some point, we're kind of around COVID, that they were doing some fundraisers, and there was some kind of worry that they might be having some troubles. But are they?
They're all right.
Strong? Are they good?
Yeah, they're all right. I mean, like, they had a Bandcamp page. I mean, me and So in Montreal from Scum, we put together this kind of like CD comp and to help out, but which did really, really well. So that was good. And it's running. It's a great show this weekend with. Who's playing? My mate Dave Skipper's putting it on. It's Sunday night, and you've got Wolf Creek, you've got Scum, you've got Spore Spawn, and
cool.
It's gonna be a good one actually.
Great. What's the contemporary Japanese scene like? I mean, it seems like there's quite a lot going on there that is newer folks, newer artists, younger. That's not super tied to the kind of big titans. It seems like there's quite a young, new scene? Do a lot of people come out to shows? Is there a lot of enthusiasm?
Yeah. There aren't a lot of, to be honest, there aren't a lot of like noise only shows, which actually I kind of like, I mean, it's noise artists on bills if I like electronic artists or hardcore bands or whatnot.
Yeah.
And people come out and it's a decent turnout. I mean, it's all relative, obviously, I mean, it's,
Of course.
Noise. 30, 40 people to a show is like, it's a really good turnout.
Yeah. Yeah.
But, there are some, I mean, to be honest, there's a lot of people I probably don't know. And I think one of the most important bands over the last few years, or acts over here, have been the band, do you know the band Endon?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it might ring a bell, but no.
They're
Endon?
That's right. It features the guy, Taro Aiko, who does the MSAF pedals and stuff. I don't know.
Okay. Yeah.
Anyway, they're quite a big band. I mean, they're on Thrill Jockey Records.
Okay.
And they've toured with I maybe Converge and stuff like that, but they essentially they're like a noise hybrid hardcore band, maybe similar to like do you know the band like Full of Hell? And
yeah.
Maybe something similar like that, but they play fairly big places over it, and they've brought a lot of people in, a lot of young kids, and so there's this kind of post end on kind of explosion of noise. People that maybe don't have the history in noise, but they're kids, so they're gonna experience it. I'm not really that tuned into a lot of that stuff, to be honest, because actually I asked mate the other day about like give me some names. I want to put some kids on. I'm bored of old men, and but So that's a big thing. And the guy Black Phone 666 is also a fairly. I think he's brought a lot of people over because he plays at a lot of more like bass music events, dance events, and also hardcore as well. Yeah. And actually, as a live performer, maybe I can't think of a better noise live performer than that guy. Cool. I think anybody that's ever seen him has been so blown away. He doesn't use like sequences, he doesn't use anything like that. It's all pure kind of like live stuff, but wow. Cool. As far as like a composed kind of set of like power electronics into cut up harsh noise, into kind of drone-esque. I mean, it's fairly incredible what that, I mean, like, you never want to play off.
Black Phone 666?
Yeah. You never want to play after that guy. That's for sure. I mean, to be honest, his recorded output is quite, isn't that, he hasn't put that much stuff out. And sorry, mate, Kaji, but I don't think he's really captured what he can do live recorded yet. And maybe that's why he hasn't put in fact, I know that's why he hasn't put so much stuff out, because it's like, because live is so good that it's hard for him to kind of get. Anyway, back to the question. He's brought, because of, he's playing in like, because he's in demand. The fella's like playing at like kind of techno events or whatnot like that. Cool. And so people seeing him and they're going, I might check out this noise stuff. So they're coming over. So he's quite important.
Nice. And
I think Wolf Creek are bringing people over as well. I think Wolf Creek.
That's the name I've seen. I've heard the recordings, but I mean, it seems like they're really tearing up a lot of stuff over there.
I think, it's they've got their own thing. That's good. But, it is like kind of young incapacitants in some ways. The two of them. But, but they're really good. They're really good. They do their thing, and it's really good. And very, very visceral, good live stuff. So, yeah.
Is there much connection to like the current scene with the old heads, like the legends? Are they playing shows together?
It depends on the legend, I guess. I mean, incapacitants, yes. Mikao will. It seems
he'll play where he'll play like. It seems like he plays a damn lot, and it's pretty welcoming and like pretty down with with pretty much everyone.
Yeah, Mikao, I mean, he's such a lovely, lovely man. And it's so down to earth. I mean, and there are, I mean, there are some like legends that are not quite as down to earth for that guy. But I mean, like, but he's great, and he plays out wherever. I mean, you ask him, he'll play. And it seems that the Incapacitants are playing a bit more. I know that over the last couple of years, due to, Fumio has been, he hasn't been playing. He hasn't been able to play so much for family reasons, but this year they're definitely playing a few more gigs. Hiroshi Hasegawa, you ask him, he'll play. He's again so down to it and really supportive of everything that's going on. And I mean, there are some that I've never seen. I mean, I've never seen, for example, a third organ. I'd love to see that guy, but I mean, I don't know his live situation. I mean, he lives in obviously a different area of Japan. He's out in Nagoya, I think, and and
then you got from Motte.
Oh yeah. I mean, it's weird because when I think about the legend, I mean, I should always think like Motte is a legend, but I guess because we kind of grew up together in some ways, it's like kind of I always think about that older generation.
Well, Motte. I mean, when I'm speaking of legends, I'm also thinking about people from your generation because you're a legend.
Right. Nah.
I mean, you are, absolutely, you are. You really are in many ways.
Well,
so I'm talking about people from your generation of Japanese noise.
No, I mean, Government Alpha plays out anytime. I mean, Kasamoto, Motte, Fumiyuki. I mean, there was a while when Fumiyuki like had a few issues and he weren't playing and stuff, but it's great to see him back and he's playing. Hey, it's great, I mean, I remember actually, I put on a show for Luke Tandy, it with Motte, and I think Vatican Shadow, I think, was playing that night, and I got in touch with Dom, and I was like, I'm not, can't come to the. I know you're playing tonight, but you want to come down to the sound check.
Yeah,
and he came down, and he was like starstruck when he saw Motte's sound check. So you had like Prurient just watching Motte, like going, I can't believe I'm watching like Motte's sound check. And I was like, yeah. It was a good sound check as well. good
That's killer, yeah. He's a really interesting guy, and I'm really glad to hear that he's.
Well, you did some. You've done some film or something, yeah. With
we're working with him right now. Actually,
right.
My wife is in the other room right now, editing the final, really the final day probably of post production for her film, which was our diploma project for film school, and it's a 90-minute feature film that she wrote and directed. And it's a narrative.
All right, so you're at film school then.
Yeah, and it's a really incredible. I mean, okay, I'm serious. It's a really incredible film, and it's about to be finished. And Motte did the soundtrack, so there's Motte's pieces throughout the film, like as the main soundtrack, and it is amazing. And we started working with him just because I got that tape. I think it's the one on Dotsmark. It has that piece Rainstorm Meditation with that synth thing that builds into this.
It's like I know the one they're talking about. Yeah. And
it's so nice. And when she was writing and working on the film, she was listening to that piece like on repeat for like hours, like through the night.
Oh wow!
Like the neighbor was like, "What's going?" Like the neighbor asked, "Like, what do you guys got going on over there?" And I was like, "Oh, maybe it makes a vacuum." So she was working with that, yeah. So and then at some point she was like, "I love this piece so much. I would love to use it in the film, and I would love to maybe ask him if he would like do some more for the film." And we reached out to him, and he was like, "Yeah, sure." And he sent us some. After a while, he sent us some stuff that's so perfect and it's so amazing. So really stoked to show that to everyone.
I look forward. I don't think he knows how good he is. He does, and and I think he's quite amazing. And when that box set came out, when the was it the Industrial Recollections? Is
Yeah.
Yeah, it was quite like, I've got this. He gave me a copy, and it was like, I don't know why this has happened.
Yeah.
Why are people interested in my stuff? And
it's been a long time coming. I think I remember some years and years ago, before I knew who he was or had a chance to hear any of his music. I know there was a box set plan and some American label that has sort of disappeared now, but he was like, "Oh, I'm working on this Motte box set. This guy's stuff is incredible," and blah blah blah. And finally it's gotten the due. It's gotten its due in terms of people hearing it and getting it out there. And his new stuff, his stuff that he's recorded since then, is also.
I don't have a lot of it, but I do have this. Some of the stuff I've heard has been really, really good. Yeah.
It definitely is. Yeah. There's also a photo I think that we have found. It's one of the main photos you can find of him, like on Discogs or whatever, where it's kind of from the back, and he's hunched over his gear, and there's like a small audience in front.
Does he have a towel on his head? Does he have a towel? Because he always used to play like in the 90s with a towel on his head. But maybe this is a newer one.
So.
All right.
I don't think so. He has like a kind of a cap, I think.
Okay.
But,
this is a newer Motte then.
Yeah. But I think you're in the. There's some guy in the audience like screaming, maybe into a microphone. Would that be you?
Yeah, it could be me. I mean, I if there was a free mic available, I'd probably get on it. Yeah. I was. I think I mean, you did the thing with Jason and recently, and I was the. Oh god, I'm going to get people's names wrong, but after that on the was it the Facebook group? What's that called? Noise Now Playing.
Yeah, Noise Now Playing. Yeah.
And I think it was Eric. Yeah. And he wrote like, oh, there's this crack fierce. I shouldn't say TADM anymore, should I?
Yeah.
Two assistant deputy ministers, like split. And he's going like, oh, and there's this fella screaming crack fucking steel. Yeah. And it's like, yeah, that was me.
Yeah.
I think my I've been on quite a few actually. Just you're like going, whey, I was on the fake tape, Endo and Kazumura Kubota. There's like, I'm in there as well, having a go.
Yeah.
Just going like,
I feel like, you can hear some. Do Japanese people do that like that?
I do, but I do all right. With encouragement, with encouragement, and when me and Jason were going down, and very unfortunately, Jason don't come out so much anymore. When we used to go to a lot of gigs together in like the late 90s and early 2000s, they would join in our frolics. So I think. Yeah.
Well, I mean that's kind of what I'm curious about. Is like I don't want to stereotype Japanese culture too much, and I also don't know much about it. But I mean, I do get the sense that it's fairly reserved, and like Jason for one, and I've met you two in person, are pretty different. I mean, you guys. Jason's obviously insane.
Yeah, he's a nutcase.
He's a nutcase.
He's got something. Something's not right. No, I love the fella.
Yeah, but I mean, you guys are both very outward and expressive and don't have a problem, getting people's faces or at least with Jason, I get the sense he likes to overstep. Boundaries that even in non-Japanese culture I think are there, like in terms of just getting in people's faces. But I mean, I just feel like in I just can't imagine, like, for Japanese people it must be just sometimes really intense to deal with you guys.
I'm actually I'm quite reserved at shows. I tend not to I nod my head a bit, bit of head nodding, but I don't I don't start nicking people's hats like Jason tended to, or something, or getting the performer's face. Anyway, that's for Jason to divulge what stuff.
Yeah,
that he's done.
I gotta have him back at some point.
You should, because
on the Patreon version, he shared some stories that he didn't really want to be so public about some.
I quite believe it. Yeah,
stuff, but I know he just kind of hit the tip of the iceberg. I think.
Yeah,
so I want to get more.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff there.
Okay, we've talked a lot about like Japan and scenes and blah blah blah. But like, tell me more about FACIALMESS itself, because FACIALMESS is a huge project. FACIALMESS is it is a legendary harsh noise project. It is like it's like Japanese noise, but obviously not. It has a very certain different sound, but you were in Japan, you also have that kind of Japanese sound. I mean, when I asked people on the Patreon, on the Discord, like beforehand, like, do you guys have any questions for Kenny of FACIALMESS? And people were just like, man, I don't know if I have a question, but that shit was so like formative for me and so legendary for me. And I also remember back kind of when I was coming up in Minneapolis, and a lot of my friends and people I were meeting were kind of like more punk, grindcore oriented, or like kind of like breakcore, a lot of online kind of stuff. And they didn't necessarily have like a ton of knowledge about like, you know, the tape noise scene where, you know, you buy and sell rare tapes, but like FACIALMESS was oftentimes like, dude, FACIALMESS was like a high bar for people and like really well known and important. So I kind of get the sense that you were on the internet kind of before a lot of noise artists were.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. It's difficult to remember everything, but I mean, like the internet thing. I mean, I remember. I think maybe it was Tim Stimbolz, and he started a regular noise chat, and I was already in Japan, so I mean, it would have been so that was 96 or something, and that was the first time. And he started, and I really don't remember how I got involved in that and how I got. But there was only about like 6 or 7 of us, and it was Flutter. I think like Hospital put out a kind of a little retrospect of Flutter's stuff.
Oh yeah.
It was obviously Tim. I don't think Bob was online. I think who else was in those chat groups? Maybe Noiseman 433. That guy. I don't know. But anyway, it was a certain time on a Friday. It was always a Friday, and that was really exciting. But cool. Also, I mean, I wasn't on alt noise like Jason was, but there was weirdly I was on the Terrorizer. There's a British magazine, a British metal magazine called Terrorizer.
Yeah.
And I got on that bulletin board, and there I met quite a few people. And the Relapse board, the original Relapse board, actually. Okay. But on the Terrorizer board, and I met like Andrew Nolan being a big one.
Cool.
Yeah. And we met on that. And Robert Deadly Orifice, weirdly, he was on that board, and he his words, not mine. I don't want to take any kind of I don't know, whatever the word is, but I mean, yeah, he said, "You got me into noise, man. You're like." I think I said something ridiculous, like, if you think Cradle of Filth is harsh, listen to, I don't know, Tracy Lords Loves Noise or Sonic Disorder or something. Yeah. And he was like, that's what did it for me. That's what did it for me.
Yeah.
But, I don't know.
It seems like you have had that kind of early influence on a lot of people. And then, I mean, I don't know, were you also like uploading your stuff or releasing it digitally or making it available earlier than most people too? Because I mean,
I think the first one was on that Noise MP3 thing that
exactly.
Tim had.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your
But
first
my album,
Facial Mess release?
no. The first
no,
one
no, no.
was
Couldn't be.
on, yeah. The first one was fuck.
97 or something like that, or 96.
Yeah, 96, 97. Yeah, it was a split. A lot of my early contacts were Canadian, actually, like international were Canadian, because it was
Why is that?
It was again. I guess going back to what I said before, getting this like tape from Jason Hodges, because I was like, it wasn't the noise which I first got exposed to was like this kind of grindcore noise,
Yeah.
like basically it's like Tracy Lords Loves Noise, Sonic Disorder, Extreme.
Noise?
That was a little bit later, actually, but I mean, Extreme Hair Stench. That was another one, so a lot of these really, and I saw like Merzbow and Mazonna and shit like that. Like it's something very fucking different. I was like a professional noise. That was like, they know what they're doing and shit. But Hermit was a big one, actually.
Yeah.
Hermit was a big one. And so and fucking Grunt, actually.
Yeah.
So I got that, and then there was and I got a really early copy of Freak Animal. The zine, a really old copy where it was almost half noisecore and half like kind of tape noise. I mean, he didn't at that time, like Mika wasn't covering like kind of the big noise, not so much the big noise people or even Pale Electronics. It was noisecore and shit noise, but every single address was fucking Quebec, and so I just wrote to all these people, and so the first Facial Mess thing was a split with people called Weird Vision. That was right. It was a Facial Mess Weird Vision.
Weird Vision?
Weird Vision from Canada. Yeah.
Crazy. That's I've been kind of mulling over Canadian noise lately and trying to kind of just. There's been like some threads, like the special, the Scream and Ride board about. I interviewed this guy Jute, who's a newer Canadian artist, and I realized a lot of new projects are coming out of Canada that are really good and interesting. And then there's kind of been some threads on the Scream and Ride board, for example, about like let's talk about old Canadian noise, and there's all this really weird stuff that a lot of it I have no idea about, but like interesting, very interesting vibe.
Well,
it has a special vibe.
However you say that.
Yeah. Ames Sanglantes or whatever.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah. Exactly. But okay. So, but what is your early Facial Mess sound like? Because I don't know if I've heard your earliest stuff, but how did you go from this kind of grind noise core influence or background to the Facial Mess sound that I'm familiar with is like very technical, hard, fast, harsh as fuck. Like it's like very, it does still have kind of a punk feel to it, but it's a big step away from that kind of sound of the more punk stuff. Like what were some influences on your sound? What made you bring your sound in that direction?
I mean, I guess I was just trying to rip off fucking Casamoro for most of it.
Yeah, okay.
Basically. No, but I mean, I guess it was. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's hard to remember exactly like the progression of what happened, but I mean, largely it was based on like the tools that I had available as well, but also the music I was listening to. I mean, I got from like hardcore and noise rock or whatever, I got into noise, which actually led me to electronic music. And so after listening to like getting into a bit of noise and stuff, I bought an Otekra record, and that led me on to, I guess, some of the more real kind of cut up electronic stuff. I mean, like Lesser, VVM and stuff like that, and really disorientating stuff. Yeah, and that was and also digital hardcore recordings as well. I still really rate, like, for example, the Bomb 20 record. on that label, which is incredibly like chaotic cut up stuff. And so I was getting into that, and I basically wanted to make a noise version of that. Yeah. I mean, there were some awful failures though, like in the catalog, where I thought I might have a go at being Alec Empire, and I introduced like these gabba beats into the shit. It was not good.
You don't like you don't feel good about this stuff?
Well, you know, I mean, I think they're a bit like, I can count on two hands, like, you know, the really, really, I mean, I released probably too much, I think, if I look back. But I mean, it's all, I guess it's all right. I mean, you know.
Yeah, it's all right. It's all right. And you know what? It's definitely all right. And
but there's some weird shit out there, you know. I mean, I did that.
That's cool though. And you
I'm also I think the only noise artist ever used Comic Sans on a cover.
Maybe up to a certain point, but it's happened since then.
Oh really? All right. So
there's a famous label that does a lot of reissues of Japanese stuff that uses Comic Sans, for example.
All right. Oh, okay. All right. Sorry,
I think they've stopped, but yeah. I mean, I do think your catalog, it's interesting. I assume you've kind of quit FACIALMESS or put on hold.
Yeah, it's on hold. I mean, it will one day come back.
But I mean, at this point, maybe it's like the kind of thing where in the moment, maybe one can feel like, oh man, I'm releasing too much. But like, dude, and like at this point or in like 10 years, every one of those releases is going to be like a classic. Because really, you've done a lot of, I mean, even the things that maybe you consider failures are weird, like, you know, the Gabber stuff, that's still like,
yeah,
fantastic.
It ain't good though.
It's cool.
Yeah, I don't know.
It's cool. I mean, there really should be a retrospective of your stuff, because I really think it's very influential for a lot of people. Because like I said, like the friends I had were into that. Like they were like kind of like semi noisy, not noisy, but like Autechre, like all that kind of more heady, noisy IDM stuff, and then also some of that punk. I don't really know much about it, but like the breakcore, like the digital, I don't know, these weird genres of electronic music that friends of mine really into, but always like FACIALMESS was mentioned among that, or at least like a noise influence in that. And I heard your stuff, and to me it sounded like hard ass cut up harsh noise, and that's what I appeal to. But that those roots from the kind of electronic music, I think, struck a lot of other people, and maybe I think brought a lot of people, yeah, like towards noise, towards harsh.
I mean, I was definitely listening a lot. I mean, I mean, I guess when you're looking at like early 2000s and stuff, it was, yeah, there was a lot of, I was listening to a lot of stuff like Venetian snares and like, say like DJ Scud and stuff on, like digital hardcore and stuff, you know, and a lot of like, you know, good breakcore stuff. A lot of that stuff hasn't aged that well though,
right?
You know, to be honest, I mean my stuff and that stuff.
Sure. Yeah, I mean, but it still has a very. It'll age. It will age well at some point, because I mean, I don't know if I've been kind of maybe late to the game, but all of a sudden noticing that like what's in style right now in terms of like mass culture and like what's come back in terms of fashion and stuff like that, like. All the kids right now are wearing like clothes from like the early 2000s, and like tribal tattoos style has become like cool. Like all this stuff has become cool again. Like this re-appreciation or nostalgia of those kind of aesthetics from that era that for a while were like, oh, this is aged so poorly, but now it's like.
Yeah, I don't think tribal tattoo should ever probably come back.
I know. I mean, I'm honestly, I just kind of realized it, but I'm honestly confused by it too. I see sometimes like this really kind of like hip, cool new design, graphic design and stuff like that, and like it's kind of at the forefront of like modern techno or whatever's cool. Like, I mean, I don't know, and it all kind of has this like throwback style to that early 2000s. Kind of raver culture or even pop culture stuff. Hold on, the doorbell just rang. I just gotta check.
No, it's just, man. Yeah, you go.
So before I had to run to grab the door, we were talking about FACIALMESS and that kind of like that electronic music influence in it, and that kind of early, also online community that you seem to be kind of tapped into.
Yeah, and then I mean, I guess I should also mention, obviously the MSBR bulletin board was, you know, pretty helpful at the time, and yeah, so I basically, you know, when I first got online and got my first computer, there was the MSBR bulletin board, and then there was the precursor to the chondritic sound and Tronics board. It was the noise board 433.
Okay, didn't know about that one. Yeah, Tronics was the first one that I got involved in. It was, I mean, for me that was so influential.
Yeah. I wasn't actually that involved in that because it was about that time that I kind of, I mean, like, well, the whole noise explosion time, I was like, I kind of took a step back at that time. I just had a kid and kind of, I know, like concentrating on work and family stuff, you know. Yeah. And it was a good number of years where I missed out. So I kind of lurked a little bit to see what was going on, but you know. But it was also that time I think that actually, if I think back, that was the time when I really started, like, with FACIALMESS, getting, like, super cut up and super spastic, even in, like, the ideas, because it was almost like a reaction to what I saw happening within the greater noise thing. I mean, I mean, no, that sounds a little bit too kind of dramatic in some ways, but I guess internally in some ways.
Yeah. You know? I mean, that's a very good point. That's a very good point, and I was almost struck to ask you at some point, like, do you find, like, really static, more block-oriented harsh noise, like, boring? Because your stuff is so spastic and so, like, it's like we're gonna, I mean, at least the stuff from that era that you're talking about, it's like I'm gonna be, like, as wild, like, I'm gonna be as wild and, like, constant as possible, like, never give you, like, this, like, this moment of chill. It's like constant, just like boom, 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 boom. Is that?
Yeah, like, I mean, at that time I did, but it almost to a point of, like, to make it almost unlistenable. I don't know. I think I got to a point where I was like, I mean, I remember I did a split with in English fella called Romance, who was fucking great, by the way. Yeah, and that was on Chondritic Sound, and Gray initially, actually, Gray was like, "Nah, man, I don't really like your track. It's just like flicking through channels on the TV. It's just, you know, because there was a lot of samples and that were just and but after I think he wrote back, and I think this is right anyway. Actually, I got used to it. It's all right. I will put it out, and I was
so like, that's the track that is the track that came out that he initially.
Yeah. I might be really wrong on that, so I do apologise to Gray for. You can keep this in. I do apologise to Gray if I'm wrong, but I remember getting an email or something going, I don't know if I don't like samples in noise, and also like this, but it was but very much at that time where it was, you know, I guess the more static kind of. You know, the Rita and whatnot, and what became like noise, I guess, noise now. But I changed my mind, though. I really changed my mind. And now, as I get older, I can't deal with it. You know, I can't deal with too much sound. And I listen back to my old stuff. And I'm like, oh, it's a bit too much, isn't it? It's like, you should have calmed down there, mate. No, straight up, really. It's like, you know, there were a lot of bad choices.
I don't know. I mean, well, no, I mean, did you feel, I mean, you mentioned you were also kind of winding down at that time for personal reasons and stuff like that, but did you feel a rift, or what kind of reception did you get from those releases? You know, you mentioned Gray, I guess, having that reaction, but what kind of reaction did you get from a wider public from those releases?
I mean, I think certain people liked it. I don't really remember. I mean, I didn't. It was hard to. You you know, I mean, the reactions I got were like more just like people. I mean, the immediate reactions were people. I would have like people around, or I'd go to someone else and play them. All right, some new shit. Endo liked it. I remember that.
Yeah, cool. Yeah,
because I remember playing him some stuff. He goes, "Oh fucking hell, that's too much, man." And yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know. Yeah, I was just doing, as I say, I mean, almost to the point where I didn't really think I was making noise anymore. I was just making this like cut up sound collage of everything, kitchen sink noise. I don't know, that maybe that was the thing. It was kitchen sink noise. It was like everything. Yeah.
Well, how do you feel about like the current incarnation of cut up? Because I feel like there is a very still strong cut up scene or sound or whatever that's got even, I think, more modernized and more, I think, radical. You know?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not that clued into a lot of them, but I absolutely love the Purgis like record, like the CD last year. Was it last year?
That's really good. That's really, really good.
I'm actually surprised that didn't get a bit more plaudits than it should. It was fantastic. I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's not what people want to hear or so, but I thought it's brilliant.
No, it does. It really does deserve it. And I regret not putting it on my top 10 list because it was going to go on my list, and then I just the list came together and didn't go on. But I really wanted to make sure that people really listen to that record, because I do think that product can have the chance to be overlooked, or people maybe have like preconceptions about it, maybe. But that record is so fucking good.
Oh, it's superb.
And it really doesn't. I think it really would blow people away who might not have paid attention.
I mean, like, I mean, the whole, just, I guess forgetting words, man.
Yeah.
Anyway, the flow of the whole thing, it's a fantastic record. I know that
Definitely.
Oxen just put out like the Nobody record, which I haven't heard that yet, but he's a fantastic lad in Prague, isn't he? He's in
Czech Republic.
That's right. And I'm looking forward to getting that, because I got a mail from Matt the other day who said he would send me a copy of that. I want to hear that.
Cool.
There's who's the obviously developer who put out that wonderful record last year. That was really, really good.
Yeah.
It's not.
You got to know that those guys are very, very influenced by you, and your sound that you're maybe kind of poo-pooing a little bit as being like very, just intensely cut up, and like that's like, I feel that's like the basis template for a lot of the newer generation of cut up artists. I really do.
Yeah, and I mean, yeah. I mean, they're good at it, so that's good. And over here, you've got like Scum, who's fantastic, and obviously Kubota, but he's been around quite a long time now, and he's doing something I think quite different now. Maybe more like something like Tourette or something like that. Or, But who else did I hear not that long? There's it's an American. Oh God,
Parasite Nurse.
Yes. Yeah. Really, really good. Really good. Yeah. And I think she has move on to Modular or something, and
I believe so.
And of course, got a lot of mention. I mean, Chris Sickness, obviously. I mean, his work is it's beyond cut noise. I mean, he's doing something way beyond all of that stuff.
Yeah. So now, FACIALMESS is kind of on hold, you mentioned, and you've been really active with Like Weeds in the past several years, and it seems like there was kind of a time where you were doing both. I mean, you put out a really good tape on, for example, like on New Forces, just FACIALMESS tape, a few years ago, 3-4 years ago, I guess now. I also wanted to ask you about that. Just curious, the political statement in that, dingy little back alley of a country. Are you referring to the United States?
No. Britain.
Okay.
The quote is from a Big Black live album.
Ah,
And so when I think it's called Pig Pile, and it's recorded in London.
okay.
And I think, I can't remember the guy's name, but I think the bassist said this next song is called Dingy Little whatever of a back country.
Yeah.
I can't remember what exactly it said.
Yeah.
But, and I thought that, and it was just post-Brexit. And I thought that was very appropriate at that time, because I'm not a massive fan of the EU. I mean, but the reasons why the UK left are so abhorrent. Yeah. Like, it just really angered me. I mean, it was something that, and it's still within. I know it's an undercurrent theme within kind of like light weed stuff as well. Like that decision and the reasons for that decision and how the working classes were essentially manipulated to make that decision, right. I think it's awful. Really a horrid thing, and it's ruined the UK, I think. Yeah.
Do you go back to the UK often? Do you still have connections there quite a bit?
I mean, obviously my family's still there, and I still got friends over there, and like, you know, friends like pre-Japan friends and stuff. I mean, COVID is, you know, I haven't been back for about 4 or 5 years, but won some aeroplane tickets. I'm sure you know as well. Like trying to go anywhere. I mean, it's crazy expensive. But once tickets go down, I'm going to go back, and I might even play a show like the next time. Like, you know, they've got a few people that might put something on, so I don't usually, you know, it's usually more just like family and stuff like that. But I think next time I might want to do like I do something. I'm being I see that, you know, Matt's got a great little tour coming up, like it's Goddy's War, and I was like kind of like, I wouldn't mind doing a bit of that.
You should, for sure. Yeah. Homecoming.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
So like weeds kind of emerged. You'll have to, you know, tell me specifically exactly when.
No issues.
It kind of emerged in the past several years. I would say 5-10 years, while FACIALMESS was coming to kind of a close.
Yeah, I'm actually got my Discogs open, so I'm having a quick look. So Light Weeds basically started in 2018, just as I decided to stop doing FACIALMESS.
And what is exactly Like Weeds in terms of its fundamental characteristics that separate it from FACIALMESS, for example?
Well, actually, it's changed a bit. But initially, the last couple of FACIALMESS things that I did, there was a lathe 5-inch on, was it Moral Defeat? Is that a label out of Belgium? Yeah. And there was then a tape on. Oh God, I can't. Anyway, last couple of things, and it was just different. I mean, the stuff that I was trying to make, and I think it's like just like, this doesn't sound like what people expect FACIALMESS to sound like. I was also a little bit tired. I've been toying with the idea. The name is pretty juvenile. I'm not saying like Weeds
is that a track? Is that a reference to a something, or is it just a reference to what it sounds like?
It's from a Carcass lyric.
Okay.
The band Carcass. So off the first record, there were just I can't remember the specific lyric, but it's from the Carcass lyric.
Okay.
And you know, I was just looking for a name at the time, and it stuck. But I mean, it's a fairly ridiculous, stupid name. And then, without considering, you know, the obvious kind of like pornography ideas and stuff like that, you know, I mean, I was a kid, I had no idea about that sort of shit. I was like, you know, but anyway, but yeah, so I'd been toying with the idea of like getting rid of that name anyway, because it sounds a bit stupid, but. Sure. The sound was just the sound that I wanted to make. I mean, I didn't want to make cut up noise. I didn't want necessary dub reggae samples every fucking second thing. It just just a different sound. And the last few FACIALMESS things that I released, which I'm really proud of, but I think they're fantastic. And it's a sound I actually, if FACIALMESS comes back, I will go back to. And the first like Weeds tape, which is called They Grow, they're quite similar, I think.
Sure.
Then like Weeds became quite a different thing where I started focusing on the rhythmic aspects of the project, and that came out just from playing live, because initially like Weeds was more like I guess like found sounds and more kind of like field recordings and stuff and samples, but I found it really unsatisfactory, like just playing that live and just like, you know, pressing like a sample or something like that, and you know, so you know, and then through the live thing, I guess like it started just become this kind of more sequence kind of rhythmic noise thing, and then I thought, all right, that's it. And then the other thing that I've got going on, which is Our Wrongs, with Adam Jennings from like
That's right,
Witness and Osaka, that has become what I guess Light Weeds initially started to do, and that's like because I'm working with Adam's tape loops, so he, you know, and that's kind of like Our Wrongs and that, but you know, so yeah.
And Like Weeds really has developed into quite a rhythmic pounding thing, and I see you wearing a Godflesh t-shirt, and I feel like I've seen or heard you rep Godflesh a number of times.
Probably my favorite band of all time. Basically. I mean, it's a big influence. I mean, big influence, but I mean, just that machine, you know, kind of, I don't know, like minimal, rhythmic, churning stuff. I mean, it ain't dance music, but I mean, it's, you know, it's just that, just repetitive music. I mean, you know, going back to like old Swan stuff or whatnot like that. I mean, that sound, and it's a sound that's always appealed to me. And when I had started being able to have the ability to kind of do that live, and it's sounding fucking good, I was like, let's lob this down on tape. But I mean, you know, and I guess that's what Like Weeds has become. But yeah.
Talk about the dub influence in general, because we kind of skipped over that. But of FACIALMESS, do you see that dub influence present in Like Weeds at all? And where did that dub influence come in to FACIALMESS?
Yeah. I mean, for FACIALMESS, it was always more of like I don't know, like before this. I mean, I'm a big fan of dub music, but I mean, like it was a space in FACIALMESS when I started introducing silence, and then the kind of, I guess I heard it was called the pedestrian deposit, like kind of reverb stop. I think I think that was on one of your podcasts that was the introducers. But I mean, like, I've been doing that before. But anyway, but that was from dub. I mean, that was dub music to introduce like negative space, and then kind of like be able to like, you know, mute a channel and have like you know, a bit of reverb or something like that, and delay on so, and just reducing, the idea of reducing stuff. But when it was FACIALMESS, it was more of a, I don't know, a bit more of an appropriation than now. And now, you know, I mean, I'm definitely, in Like Weeds is definitely not going to have any kind of, you know, like angry Jamaican man sample. I mean, I'm again two minds whether that was like a decent thing to do or not. I mean, it's a bit of a cultural appropriation, I think, in some ways. But I mean, like, but the techniques very much so, very much so are really alive in what I do, because when I record like, you know, basically like fill out every channel, whatever, and then the mix down is just me kind of like taking away, lobbing a bit of fader, lobbing a bit of like, you know, I mean, sorry, putting delay on it and putting a bit of reverb on it, and just on the mute buttons. And that becomes basically the final track, you know.
Cool.
And so yeah.
It also seems very influenced or tied to like sound design for film. Do you have any sort of background in that, or
no, not at all.
Or interest in that? Just in terms of like the really complex kind of envelopes.
Yeah, no idea, mate. No, not at all.
No? Okay.
No, sorry. I mean,
okay,
I like it. I you know, I can, but yeah, I mean, yeah, I'm a bit of a caveman, really. I mean, I certainly don't know that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just I mean, are you using a lot of modular gear as well? Because it just has that.
Not at all.
Nothing? Really?
No. I use exclusively.
Is there any reason particularly that you kind of have drifted away or kind of stopped having such a intense focus or interest on like pure noise, like the facial mess stuff? Is there any concrete reason, or is it just like, kind of taste developing?
As far as like the music I make or the music I listen to, or
both, I guess. I mean, you mentioned to me that you're not really doing that much like straight noise these days, and is there like an actual concrete reason for that? Something that burned you out, or you got sick of, or?
I think there was I was I think it was something Sam said, and it kind of resonated with me a little bit, like Sam McKinley, the reader, and in one of your in his interview with you, and he mentioned the fact that something about maybe you don't like noise, and or do you know what I mean? Like, and I look back on the whole thing, and I start thinking about like, even facial mesh. I was always trying to do something that wasn't just noise. I don't know. So maybe I've never really. I mean, when I hear like good harsh noise, I mean, I enjoy it, and especially live. I mean, fucking hell. And like, but I wonder if I've ever really liked it. I don't know. I mean, it's always been one of the listening things I've done with like, I don't know, like electronic music, a grind or whatever. Yeah. But and I think like with facial mesh, with like weeds, I think maybe I'm just being really just more honest.
Sure.
This is the shit that I want to make, and it is rhythmic, and it, but it certainly isn't fucking dance music. I mean, I wouldn't want to make that. Fucking hell.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's what you want to make. I mean,
maybe industrial. I don't know.
That is interesting that you say that, though, because I do sometimes feel that sometimes people who have like, people whose noise goes in this really extreme directions with some sort of shit noise or sound or something like that. It seems like they're more. It seems like they're interested in irritating the listener and like pissing. They're interested in pissing people off in some way with it.
And I think that was me, rather than actually considering the sound itself and actually focusing on like listening to some like for example, Sam speaks so eloquently about like no, and I'm like, I've never felt about it in that way. Maybe I've never really liked it. Do you know what I mean? Though I mean, I don't know. Sure. I don't know. But there are noise artists that I listen to that I find incredibly musical, though. Yeah. Or like Sickness, Tef, Skin Crime. Yeah. I mean, later Skin Crime stuff. I mean, that's ASMR, isn't it? I don't know. And I mean, I don't know. This, I mean, Endo, whatever. Listen, go on.
Yeah, I think that's just another. I think that's just another side of noise. And I mean, I don't think it has to do with not liking noise, but I think it's another side of noise that people do love. That some people are more attracted to that element of noise that like makes them feel like they're getting, smashed in the face with a hammer or something like that. Where they like that.
And it feels fucking great in a live situation. I mean, like,
But they like that. They like that jarring, even irritating, or they like to be pissed off by it. Like that's what really touches them, And I think that's noise too. I mean, I don't think it's not noise.
No, that's true. That's true.
I don't think you spent so much time making so much killer noise, and putting on shows and networking with people and dedicating yourself.
Well, but I love the subcut, and I love the fact that I mean, I still get very excited if I see like some kid like making a bunch of noise. I'm like, yeah, come play my next show. Come play my next show. I mean, fuck it. I mean, yeah. I mean, because it's fun and it's great. I mean, the noise. That's it. Noise is fucking fun. It's great. I love it. Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah. What? I kind of wanted to ask you when you were talking about the early days of the message boards and those connections and the chats. What was that excitement like? I mean, how exciting was that?
Crazy.
And how does that compare to like what's the state of the scene right now for you and in your estimation?
I mean, I have to admit, I don't really have. I mean, currently, like so much, I guess, engagement with a lot. I mean, that's right. I'm an old man, you know. I mean, like, it's a young lad's game, you know. But I mean, when I was when I first got on that, it was so exciting. I mean, obviously. And I was also quite nervous. I remember that because Stimbox was a bit of a name. I remember that, you know, he was macronym for whatnot. Yeah. And, you know, and his label was great. I remember that and joining that chat with this guy, Flutter. I think I met him on this, like say, Terrorizer noise board. And then he invited me to this chat and it was like Stimbox. Oh, fucking hell, Tim Stimbox. I was quite nervous, but really excited.
Yeah.
And the you know, like the feeling of being able to like talk in real time about noise. Fucking hell. I mean, that was I mean, it wasn't that great. I mean, you know, the romantic thing about sending a letter and so. I mean, it was all right, but you had to wait for a few months.
Yeah.
You know, and get a tape
I think
back.
The chat function is really cool. I mean, I think that chat,
brilliant.
Yeah. The chatability. I think message boards. I mean, I talk about it a lot. I think message boards are also very valuable, and they're not as instant. But I mean, just that I was lurking on the Tronics board. I was never really posting until I started maybe releasing stuff. And I post just an ad, but I was lurking on there all the time, and just like certain threads I would follow, and they'd be active. People talking about stuff every day, news. Just that was just
it was incredible. I mean,
of all the stuff that was probably going in my life that should have been like really, memorable and I guess it was, like I don't know, getting out of high school and partying and moving out and all that fun stuff I was doing, whatever. But like the stuff that really was like really getting me off and like exciting to me was like seeing what was going on in the.
No, it's incredible to me. I mean, the idea that I was chatting with some of the other side of the world with that had like similar and similar interest, and releases were planned as well. I mean, I think I did. I mean, I don't know, mate. I think I did some of the Flutter, maybe. I can't remember, but that was made on there, or somebody from. I know Debt's Charge, the grind noise band who are still going. That was some of the members of that used to get on there and did a couple of splits with them. And I'm sure that like came from those, like those chats, those Friday chats. Yeah, I think it was Friday anyway.
Nice,
but yeah,
that's very cool.
But this is pre. I don't remember what kind of platform it was on or anything like that. But this is. Yeah, way pre noise boards, all right. I mean, I guess apart from the MSBR bulletin board, but yeah.
I think it's the best, and I think it's important to maintain those because all these new platforms we have are just as usable for that, or even better. So I like to just encourage people to stay doing that because that's the funnest part. That's the most fun. That's the most fun about it.
Yeah,
beyond the music,
Yeah, it's nice to talk to someone a bit. I mean, I don't do it as much as I probably should, but
no, of course. But I mean, particularly new people getting into it, getting that bug and finding a place to communicate.
Yeah. Hey, I mean, if anyone ever messaged me or something like that and asked me some questions and stuff, I'm always very, very happy to, whatever, talk to them about it.
Had another question from people on the Patreon for you. They wanted to know about the Sore Throat Bizarre Uproar Facial Mess collaboration EP. Like that that was kind of a standout thing. How did that come about?
That was Eric Burrows from Hermit, yeah.
Yeah.
And it was his label. And I mean, again, the memory ain't great, but as far as I know, as far as I remember, so there was no real talk between me and, I don't know, Sore Throat or Bizarre Opera or whatever. It was like Eric essentially sent me their side, and I messed it up.
Okay.
And he lobbed it out. Yeah, that was it. That was it. But I mean, yeah, I've never spoken to Bizarre Opera actually. Like, yeah, Sore Throat a couple of times, but yeah, it's a good record actually. You know, I it's weird you say that because I played it like about a few weeks ago, so I found a copy and was like,
nice.
Oh fucking hell, that's all right. Yeah,
yeah, definitely it is. What about some other memorable splits or collaborations built from kind of early relationships?
Right. Well, I mean, the first one that comes to mind, and it's not that early, but I was maybe probably the most important was the one I did with Sickness. And originally because I mean, it isn't that. I mean, it didn't come. I think it was 2015 when the
early doesn't matter. I mean, that was just forget early, but yeah, just general.
So it came out because I was going to play at the End Times Festival, and
yes,
I think Chris had recommended me to Bob, and then he said, "Yeah, all right, we get Kenny over," and then Chris said, "All right, we want to put a release together, but we'll do this kind of extra CD for this release of a collaboration."
Yeah.
So when we did that was a big deal, and then Kitty Play re-released that as a tape. But that was a big deal because well, it's Chris and it's Sickness and it sounds fucking good, and it was a real fucking honor to work with Chris.
Sure.
And then other than that, my stuff with Guilty Connector, which was because I had it was about 3 years. We did essentially it was a live act that me and him did a thing called Kempe Tai, and this was me and Kohei, and it was his own thing. It wasn't just like Facial Mess meets Guilty Connector. It was its own thing, and it was as the like fast, harsh noise. And it was like we only released two one live tape, one split CDR with Dust Breeders. I don't know, it was on some French label or something. But that was great because again, it's more of the personal thing because he was a mate, and we got on really well, and so we played the show, we'd have a few beers, we'd get drunk, and it was. I don't know, that those personal relationships. So that was a good one.
Yeah.
We did one later take because we changed the name Kenbeitai because that was a bit of a stupid name. I mean, I don't know, Kenbeitai is like the Japanese secret police. And it's a bit of a silly name, really, to be honest. Yeah. It's like calling your band SS or something. So we did another tape called under the name of Scab Minded, which was just a C10.
Scab Minded?
Yeah. It was a C10. Oh. And we did one show under that name, and it was really fun. I mean, I guess officially it's still going because we never told each other, all right, let's not do that. We just haven't done it. And I've done a ton of stuff with Jason as well, actually. A lot of live collaborations.
He did send me those tapes, which I digitized. That's right, and there's the collab set of you guys. Have you guys done much more recording together? No?
We've never recorded anything together.
Yeah.
I think we went into the practice studio once together and had a go, and I don't know. But live it was fun. Yeah, I mean, I always enjoy playing with Jason, so that was good. Yeah, I mean, it's more. I mean, there are not too many collaborations. I like Weeds. I don't think it's ever going to collaborate with anyone, but Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, Scum. That's again. It's live. When I collaborate with Scum, we've done that a few times. That's fun. Cool. One time with Killerbug, that was fun.
Nice.
Yeah.
I have a question. You played. You came to Cologne.
Yeah. Cheers for that, mate.
with Endo and Purgist and Ma.
That's right.
On your European tour, and I have to ask: were you gassing me up when you said that was the loudest Endo set you've ever seen? Because I told everyone that's true, and I can't believe
I wasn't.
I can't believe that could be really the case.
It was.
I thought you were trying to make me feel good because there were no one at the show.
Up to that point, but then we went to. By the way, on that very thing, we're putting on quite a big one in June. Nice. With so we've got Roman is coming, Slit Throats.
Yes.
And we've at the same time we've got this is me and Adam Jennings that are putting on this show together.
Cool.
So it's so we got Slit Throats, Plague Mother. We've got unsustainable social condition. We got Matt and Leah P. They're both coming. They're playing.
Great.
Oh fuck! I've got a list somewhere. But who else is coming? A ton of people. We're going to do an hour long set. Me and Adam are going to do an hour long set.
Good, great.
And the Incapacitants are headlining the first night. A lot of local acts like Black Phone, Scum, Government Alpha. The second night we're awaiting confirmation of a headliner that I reckon people might even travel for.
Wow.
I don't know. Nicodori's playing, Cunts, a bunch of other. I don't know. Yeah. It's all noise and a bit of grind. It's going to be a two-day thing, but it'd be cool.
That's like, isn't that kind of? You guys had that planned before COVID, right?
Yeah.
It's kind of like a festival. I mean, it's a 2-day big ass show.
Well,
it's crazy.
We basically got like we want to put on an American style noise fest in Tokyo, and because there hasn't been, there's been not really a noise fest though. So at that time again, like Roman was coming through, but also we had like Torturing Nurse that was coming from China, and few others. I can't remember exactly, but the flyer. I mean. If you can find it, lob it up. It speaks for itself. Who was going to play that show? But it's going to happen in June. It's the 10th or 11th of June, and over this weekend, and it'll be fun. It'll be fun. It's an ultra soup, and like I say, I mean, we're waiting for 2 people to say yes. I'm confident they will.
Headliners. Japanese.
One of them, both Japanese, Yeah. But should be cool. One of them like a legendary grind noise act. And one of them, maybe a more recent legend. Yeah, I don't know, but a legend, but actually a huge fucking name now. But yeah,
cool. Wow. Yeah, stoked. I wish I could be there. I'll be there.
Yeah,
I'll get there someday. It is one of these days. One of these days.
Do come because it is fun, and Of course, the classics are great and the history is wonderful, but it's still here. There's still shows to go to. I mean, I'm going to go to a show on Sunday. I've been to a show. I mean, actually, I put on a show 2 weeks ago, but last weekend I went to a show, and it's really rare that there's a weekend that I mean, it might not be straight noise, but there's always a show where somebody who's interested in noise is going to want to check out.
Cool.
Yeah, within this city, it's still alive, very much so. Yeah,
great to hear. One more question with your band, with your project like Weeds, is there a scene or kind of a movement of artists that you might place that project in as a part of?
That's quite a good question, actually, because I do feel an affinity with, I'd say, God is War. Yeah. I'd say Andrew Nolan's recent stuff. I would say, like, I I'm gonna get the name wrong, but fucking Bloomer's new thing, Delta Kane.
Yeah.
That's right, on Fake. Definitely those guys. Yeah. And in fact, we have a little chat group on the old Instagrams where we chat.
That's
about
cool.
it.
I mean, that seems like it seems like there's some sort of emerging kind of
Misery Index too. No, not Misery Index. Sorry, Misery Engine. Misery Index is a grind band. Yeah, Misery Engine. Yeah. That fella too. Yeah.
Cool.
I mean, the sounds are completely different, but
right.
I mean, I think that's the thing. I love the idea of like people from a noise background trying to make music in some ways.
Yeah.
But much better than somebody from a musical background trying to make noise. Like, that don't work out. But I mean, like, I know, but when you've got that, I know it's an interesting thing.
Yeah.
Because when there's that, you're like, I mean, fucking God is War. I mean, what Mac's just gone like pro now, isn't he, or something?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure.
And fucking great, because it's a good fucking project, eh?
Yeah.
And
that noise mindset, I think that noise mindset being brought to other genres of music or even other forms of art, is very exciting, I think.
Yeah. So I've always, I don't know. I mean, like fucking clipping, for fuck's sake. I mean, I guess they're the with William Hudson. I mean, fucking hell. I mean, what syntax error? I mean, fuck, that's some of the most cut up fucking shit ever. I mean,
absolutely. Cool.
So definitely, those guys is some kind of
kindred spirits.
Yeah, I would say that, and they like beer too.
They like beer.
It gets to Friday, and unfortunately, their Friday night's my Saturday morning, so I'm about to start work, and they send me photos of them like cheersing it up and stuff, and I'm like, "Fuck you."
You guys like beer over there, don't you? In Japan, it's.
I like it. Yeah. I mean, probably a bit too much so, which a lot, but yeah.
It's also like an open container country. You can have beer on the street, right?
Yeah, but isn't it the same?
Like Germany.
Like Germany. That was one. I mean, I've always said it's like the sign of a civilized society. The fact that if you can walk down the street with a drink in hand. Yeah.
Brilliant. There's not that many though. I mean, in most other European countries you can't. Germany's the exception, I think.
Yeah, I don't know what the law is in England now. I mean, I think it's all right, but it's frowned upon, and it's like kind of. So I think the last time I was back, I was walking down Oxford Street, which is like, I guess the big kind of shopping street, and I had an open can and got a few looks, and but whatever.
Whatever. Cool. Well. At this point, I would like to ask you the question I ask everyone. First, I want to ask you and I hate to put you on the spot, but your top 5 noise releases of all time. And then after that, I want to ask you your 5 records from the past year or so that you really like, but non-noise. Because I think that would be interesting too. But first, what would be your top 5 noise releases of all time?
I mean, I did think about this. I mean, because I'd seen the podcast before, so I mean, there were a few that came. I mean,
what's next for you? What's going on? I mean, you're active. I know you're active. What can you tell me?
I'm doing a record. Well, it's finished on. So yeah, there's a second full length coming out on Dotsmark.
Cool.
So he's putting that out. Like, I don't know, it'll be sometime this year, but that's all done. And then there's a couple of splits, maybe something else coming on. I mean, there will be some digital stuff, like digital only like things, because I know I put that out as kind of, this is the shit that I'm doing online, but it's not ever going to be on an album or anything like that. It's just like kind of a little postcard, from the mixer, whatnot. Yeah. Our Wrongs is going to release a split 12-inch. There will be an Our Wrongs C20 with a collaboration with Chris Dodge from Spaz, and Yeah, so he sent over some stuff, and I haven't started it yet. And Aaron's second CD, and and probably a couple of splits from like Light Weeds maybe, and maybe a remix record. I've been promising Industrial Coast like a remix of if I say it on here, I have to do it. So and I want to do it, but it's
do it.
It's a remix of God Is War's Yakuza Coming or something. And that will be on Industrial Coast. So that'll be like a Light Weeds remix of that album, whatever.
Yeah, that has to happen. That seems like a very perfect marriage.
Yeah, it'd be good. I mean, me and Mac have talked about a split as well, but maybe that will happen. I mean, one time, find a label that will put that out. So that'd be cool.
Nice. Great, Kenny. Well, thank you so much. It was really fun to talk to you.
No, cheers, man. I had a good time, actually. Thank you. Yeah, very much so.
If you head over to the Patreon, you can hear the extended segments of this interview where Kenny tells me specifically about what kind of gear he's using. He also talks about playing shows internationally and what it's like when foreign artists come over to tour in Japan. Of course, he also gives me his top 5 noise releases of all time, as well as 5 newer releases he's really into. Kenny was also nice enough to donate a bunch of download codes for people to check out a bunch of his new Like Weeds releases. There's also the great Fuck My Ass material from Saudi up on the Patreon, which features a lot of the aforementioned footage from FACIALMESS playing in the earlier days. You can find all that and more at patreon.com/White Centipede Noise. Thank you to all who support. Shout out to the Maniac Circle, and an extra special thank you to the heavy sponsors of the podcast. Appreciate all of you guys.